Go for it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Dean Anderson, founder and CEO at Kernel, where we have developed a simple way to grow your money like the world's most sophisticated investors. It's a pleasure to be a guest here for the Rosie on Recruitment and Career podcast, talking about my career and being an entrepreneur. I hope you enjoy it.
Bloody brilliant. Love it. Thank you.
There we go.
And you're back.
But now we're not blurry. So hopefully that works.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, let's get started, Dean. Cool. What does recruitment and career mean to you?
So I guess recruitment's been interesting for me because my first job at NZX, which really has shaped my whole career, came through working closely with a recruiter in Wellington. Really unsure about where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be doing, and what the opportunities were in the market. So it was great working with them to get a lay of the land, understand sort of the direction we could be heading. They've got me a job, advocated for me, got me into NZX, and that kind of laid the foundation for where I am today.
I love that. A good recruiter story. Nothing better.
Yeah, exactly. And so as a user of recruiters, it was fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, that's the story we all love to hear, and the fact that it was what got you onto this path, developing Kernel today, amazing. So, yeah, you went from a BCom in finance to an energy consultant as your first step, but how did that come about? Just talk a little bit more around that.
Yeah, so I guess I did finance, always was passionate about growing things, the markets. I left uni Canterbury during the last earthquakes, so finished up in Canterbury and looking for jobs and found a job working for energy consulting. It was a great opportunity. It was a business owned by, or partly owned by, Humphrey Rollison, a well-known sort of Christchurch businessman. So it was a great sort of space to get involved in. Really enjoyed it. It was kind of a great mix of freedom, commercial opportunity as well. That actually took me to Wellington, and I was toying with the ideas of being involved in the energy space and still the financial markets and growing things. And that led to the recruiter, and they actually got me a job at NZX initially in the energy team. The New Zealand Stock Exchange actually runs the New Zealand energy markets around setting all the prices across the country and calculating all the volumes. I got involved in NZX and the stock exchange via the energy pathway, and then have more over time from there.
Yeah. What was that like as a graduate in terms of that very first step and understanding the feelings of your friends around you and them looking for roles? How easy or hard did you find that?
Probably the biggest decision I made early on was that I didn't see myself as being in a big four. A lot of the BCom graduates that I was with went down the Big Four grad program. That pathway didn't really appeal to me, and that comes back to that inner drive of wanting to develop my own thing and kind of be a bit more hands-on with stuff and seeing things grow. I felt that in a Big Four that I was going to be very quite rigid and structured around the pathway and the sort of work that you were doing and your role within that large organization. And one of the benefits of NZX was actually the fact that it is a well-known business, a relatively large business, but it's also quite small. And so you do have a lot of interaction with the various business units, the senior management, CEOs, etc.
So the best of both worlds then.
It should be for most of the time. Sometimes they get confused with that around the wrong way and act like a big business when they should be acting like a small business. But yes, there are you can get the best of both worlds.
I'm sure they're not the only ones that suffer from that type of balance. Yeah. At NZX, you specialised in data products, licensing and contracts. What were some of the greatest career learnings for you from that time?
That was an interesting move. So that was my first move, and I guess from the energy out, and that comes back to one of the things I often talked about was encouraging people to raise a hand when they wanted a new challenge. So I'd been at NZX for a couple of years. At that point, I kind of felt like I had done my dash within the energy team. I didn't really see anything there. I liked what was happening within NZX. Raised my voice a bit about, okay, I want to take on more challenges, new opportunities. that shifted me into this other team, and that team was relatively small. There's basically 4 or 5 people in it, and that covered a couple of parts really, and that was the exchanges, data licensing and contracts, and at the time also the Smart Shares business. The data licensing was 2 of us, and it was a real jump into the deep end. We rewrote work with consultants to rewrite all the data license agreements. We went out and re-engaged with all of those parties that were signed up to those contracts. And it was quite an interesting period because for most exchanges around the world, data licensing and selling of data and those contracts are actually one of the largest revenue lines for the business. And so to 2 of us to go out there, I think we quite successfully actually grew revenue about 16% year on year. In a large part of the market, just by reviewing those contracts, re-engaging with clients. So that was quite an exciting period to go through that. And then that also kicked off a period where we sort of reinvigorated what was a relatively stagnant business at the time with Smart Shares.
Yeah. So you did talk about that, the creating some visibility and putting your hand up. What are some tips for that for people that might not know where to start?
It's just, so I guess it came back to being fortunate to have good managers. I've always had, when I've been going through my career, I've had quite good managers around me who are very considerate of their team's own personal growth. And I think that was a key success and made it a lot easier. I can understand it'd be challenging if you don't have that same sort of relationship with your manager or others. But where you have a group of people around you who are not just thinking about what they can get out of you from a work perspective, but they can see a bigger picture there. And that actually, for I think more organizations and hopefully most organizations act in that way because they can see the long-term value of fostering growth within their staff and retention.
Yeah.
That made it a lot easier. And so I think it's just about finding that confidence to say, okay, look, I want to take on another challenge, realizing you don't need to know what you want to do. Like I have no plans to go into the data part. I didn't really know what that was going to involve. I just knew that I liked sort of the space that we were heading, the organization, the teams that we were working with. I could see that there was an opportunity behind that. And so it was just following that nose forward with it and continuing to sort of question that and talk about that with managers around you and other colleagues.
Yeah, I think that's an important piece because I speak with a lot of candidates and, you know, whether it's within their own business or externally, sometimes people think that having an initial conversation is some form of commitment that I then have to take that step. And I really want people to understand it's like, no, get curious and ask a lot of questions. And even if you start something, you don't necessarily have to live with it for the rest of your life. So,
exactly. And so, I had... I guess before really settling into Smart Shares, in those first couple of years at NZX, I had multiple roles. Interestingly, since then, they actually, while I wasn't a graduate when I went in there, they have developed a graduate program which follows probably almost a similar line where you actually get moved around different parts of the business over sort of 6-month periods. But again, it's quite a good way of getting a sense of the business where, what areas you're attracted to, what sort of work that you're attracted to, and so that you can find and you'll be more productive and happier if you're actually in that space as well.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes that vends between different roles too.
Well, I was actually doing 2 roles. I continued to do the energy role for a period of time while shifting into data and was doing a bit of both. And again, great challenge. Took that on board. And as one started to take over, made a full switch. And
I've been in that position myself, and I think there's also a little bit of comfort in that, where it's great to know that you still are an expert in something. So it does help to build your confidence on the other side as you are learning and absorbing new knowledge, not to think, oh God, I don't know anything.
Yeah, exactly. And because you do build up that sort of knowledge set, and you're stepping away from it, particularly if, like in this scenario, was going completely to another thing. Energy to data, they're completely separate sort of processes, business lines, and so you have to learn it from the ground up again.
Yeah, right. I'm really hoping that isn't getting picked up, but someone's using a chainsaw outside. Can you hear that?
Not really. Very, very vaguely. So no, that's all good.
We're going to hope that doesn't feature in the background of this episode, but that's cool.
I would actually say that I can only hear a faint sound that I thought almost sounds like somebody using a toilet. So
it's a chainsaw. Let me just clarify that.
Yeah.
But also it's raining really heavily. So just of course, let's get the combination of both those things. Who's using a chainsaw in the rain?
I know. And at 9 a.m.
At night, yeah. This is, dude, you're not cool. What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions around product management? Because it's one of those areas that unless you're in it or you're directly vend on in a department with it, people might not know what it's about.
I guess my experience as well is that they do tend to be relatively loose business titles and job descriptions as well. I would say most organizations don't know what their product managers do or what the role is. It's kind of sometimes can be that role of you can take all of these other things. So for me, when I was product manager, it was a broad title covering, well, with the smart shares at the time, it was basically anything commercial related. We had kind of our analysts and the operation on the compliance side, and then product manager kind of covered everything else from sales, marketing,
all of the other things,
product design, keeping collateral and things all up to spec, and thinking about the business cases for new product developments as well. So in that scenario, it very much was all other things other than these things that we've clearly defined can go into the product manager title, and you'll just cover that, I'm sure. So I haven't had experience elsewhere with it, but I get a sense that probably often when we look at other product manager descriptions or think about what their roles are, often can be that position that gets the other stuff. But sometimes that's the exciting thing about it, is because it can be a position where you are wearing multiple hats and doing multiple different things, and that's what keeps it interesting. It can be an exciting piece where you are driving a lot of change and development as well.
Yeah, knowing a few product managers myself and working with quite a few different businesses in that space, it does tend to suit people that are generalists that have one or two areas of expertise, really like to see some strategy, are looking forward, but don't always have to do the key pieces of delivery solely themselves. Yeah. So it's I tend to try and share with younger people coming into work and what they want to do, and okay, this might be something that fits all of those skills that you want to bring under one job title.
Exactly.
What is your process then for strategic direction for a new product or even for your business, and how do you engage your teams to get buy-in?
Yes, we're a pretty small team. So we've grown pretty quickly over the last few months. So first 12, 18 months of our life, there was 3.5 of us. So that's pretty easy. It's all of us around the whiteboard and we're all on the same page. As that's grown, obviously we've got a bigger board, we've got a growing team and more, I guess not departments, but individual teams within the business working on different functions. And so for us, it is still a very collaborative piece. I think that's something that we value, and I think it's one of our great strengths is that our entire team are involved in the direction and strategic thinking of the business. I think we're all very aligned on what the 2, 3, 5 year sort of direction looks like. Yeah. We have a number of steps of how we want to get there. We've made quite strategic decisions around things that we've done to date. Some of those we know mean slower growth in the short term, but we believe that will be better for us in the long term. Yeah. And so the team really buys into all of that because everybody's been involved in it from day one. They understand where their functions and roles add to that. We are all sharing in the idea creation of it. What does that look like? We test ideas of each other. I think everybody has the confidence to know that they can challenge any concept because we are making quite big calls at times, particularly on a business. Maybe it's on a pricing front or a product front. These are quite big strategic decisions. There are ones at the moment we talk about that are quite fundamental and a serious stake in the ground for the future direction of the business and how we want to develop. And so we really like that robust, all-inclusive discussion because I want to challenge it from every angle, thinking about every team member's views on it, not only from a personal perception, but how that impacts where they see their functions going. So for us, I think, given the background of being a newer startup and being a smaller team, that collaborative approach has been very important towards our overall innovation and our strategy, and we want to try and continue that and foster that.
Yeah. So you had 3.5 to start. How many are you at now? And where ideally, because I know you're waiting to fill some roles as well.
We are 12 at the moment. 12 at the moment, and looking to probably be around double that early next year. So again, we're sort of quite a quick growth over this current period. We have been very conscious as well that we've got, I'm quite proud that we've got very high caliber individuals who've really bought into this. And so I would say that the output and what we deliver for this business is already more like what 20 people would normally do, just because of how efficient we work together, the quality of the people that we have, and the overall direction of how we've structured things.
Yeah, magic does happen when you've got great people wanting to do fantastic work towards a singular objective. So that's amazing.
When they have the freedom, I think, as well. Like, so each team, like, again, we've got this big picture. We know how we want to get there. It's not defined in every detail. So as individuals, they've got the opportunity to think with the blue sky mindset to go, how would we build this thing in the most amazing way possible, and challenge themselves to think like that. And so every day they get to almost everybody's kind of building their own thing and bringing it to life. And so that's what helps fuel it is, and it makes it a lot easier as well from my point of view, because of the quality of the team and the structure we have, there is no sort of, you don't have that people management need, and we're not concerned about, trying to keep on top of different things. We can just really focus on the business and growing the business.
Yeah. We've already touched on a lot of what's obviously very rewarding about starting Kernel, but it was a big step to make, to go out and become an entrepreneur and develop this business. So what has been most rewarding overall about that decision, whether that's overcoming some fear or just seeing what's starting to be the fruits of that labor?
I don't think I had too much fear around it, starting it.
Great.
Again, coming back to great management that probably put a few seeds in the mind around it. And that was, reality was, at the time, I had sold a place. I was living in Auckland. I had no dependents, no mortgage.
Yeah.
It was the opportune time. I developed enough of a career that I had, built my credibility in the market. For me, it was, well, worst case scenario, I'll find another job. It's not that bad. I'm young, you can take on those things. And that was really reinforced as well through close managers. They had their own business and talk about the challenges of trying to go out and take that leap. The longer you leave it, when you, all of a sudden, if you've got kids and a big mortgage and school fees and things like that to be considerate of, it becomes a lot harder. So that leap thing was pretty easy and comfortable and I guess because I had always set this up and it was never done, I've never been driven by the financial aspects of these things. Like this has been a passion thing rather than doing this because I think I can make more than if I was working in a job. It was always been around the love of growing and what we're doing. And so that's been exciting. It's been exciting pulling together the team that we have. I think that's probably the thing that I'm very proud of, the quality of the people we have around us and how they're helping fuel the overall growth of Kernel. So that's been good. And we're now at this sort of next phase where we will have growing pains. We're moving very quickly. It was a very interesting business to start, though. I think Kernel's unique in the sense that we see ourselves as this wealth platform and this aligning our offering to building customers' long-term wealth. And there are a number of facets to that. But at the heart of what we do, we run a range of index funds and we are a licensed fund manager. So starting a licensed funds management business is quite different than starting a lot of other businesses because you don't have the opportunity to just start something small and see how it goes. And, we'll start with a website, see if we get some traction or let's test some products. Because of the regulated nature of it, you go through this rigorous process with the Financial Markets Authority. You have to have the whole business built on day one. And that meant full board, every policy document, every governance manual. You have all these third parties that are involved in the delivery of the funds, from supervisors to fund administration. You had to have a lot of capital in the bank to show that, the regulator is going to be comfortable that you're going to be able to grow and you're not going to cause any issues that could impact investors down the line. And so it's a you have to be all in on this business and idea, and you have to have a lot of parties come together on that as well. So we had to have the supervisor, the fund admin. We had to find a kind of partner in terms of an investor into Kernel to help get this off the ground that also bought into that vision and was like, right, we're really backing this, and going all in on the concept. And then you go live on day one, and now it starts. And
now it's a thing.
Now it's a thing. So yeah, it's a very different process to a lot of other businesses in that sense, which has its own challenges.
Yeah. I'm going to jump around a bit. I'm going to go to the golden ticket winner first, and then back to telling us more about how you help people at Kernel. Because I think that flows really nicely from what you've just talked about. So Kernel was a golden ticket winner, a program that is an industry-driven, aiming to support New Zealand fintechs who are embarking on their scale-up journey. So definitely Kernel. Yep. What's one of the greatest lessons you could share for a startup from that program?
For us, it was an interesting time, and it was, I guess, it was a reasonable commitment. So we were one of the pilot parties to go through that program. And we were relatively new. We were a small team, obviously. At the time, I think there was still three and a half of us, basically. So that could have been a big commitment and distraction. And so we had to really weigh that up of, right, we're going to go into this. It was a great program for us to go through because it was an opportune time for us to have settled in the funds management business. And then it gave us the ability to really test our longer-term vision around what we wanted to do from a technology point of view, with a bunch of sort of more industry experts, because our team, our founding team has come from, while we get often classified as fintech, our founding team, I think rather uniquely in the fintech world, have come from the fin part of the fintech, where a lot of fintech companies come from the tech. So we really understood the financial markets infrastructure, that market, the regulatory environment. We knew where we wanted to go from a technology point of view. And from day one, we built ourselves as entirely cloud-based and fully digital. But this was an opportunity to go and sit down with 5-6 different organizations that were experts around design and artificial intelligence and technology build to really test our thinking and our vision of what we wanted to do, what were things that we could be including, what's unnecessary, what is the role of AI in our roadmap, and where do we see that adding value when testing different data sets around what that would look like. So it was a great time to really get clarity on the vision, and then that actually laid the foundation for us to start on that journey on the back of that, basically. So.
Great. Tell us, we've talked a little bit about Kernel and kind of the business and what you do there, but how do you help people? How are you helping everyday New Zealanders?
Yeah, so I think for us it's... I guess the values thing for us is really important. So we really believe in index investing and building good long-term behavior and products that are aligned to customers, our customers' long-term needs. And so we want to see all Kiwis become more financially prosperous in the long term. It gives them choice and freedom. And that varies for every individual. And we understand that, and we want to enable people to be able to find their own unique pathway to grow that long-term wealth. And so for us, it's been about creating accessibility. It's also been creating a good behavioral piece. So we're encouraging people to do the things that are aligned to their long-term interests. And we do that as well with like how we get remunerated, all the little things internally. So our fee structures is aligned to long-term wealth building. There's no transaction fees. There's no sort of encouragement of trading or buying and selling and things that aren't actually really in your interest. So we don't want to be incentivized to encourage behavior that we know is not aligned to our customers' long-term interests. Same internally. We don't have short-term bonus structures or anything like that. We don't want any of our team to be thinking about ideas or sales solutions or marketing campaigns that encourages the wrong behavior that's not aligned to long-term outcomes. So everything we do from day one has been built around, we're going to design the best products with the best solution that we know is the best chance for everyday Kiwis to get to their long-term wealth goals. And that's how all Kiwis should be thinking. and it is accessible to all Kiwis. And the nice thing about it is we're seeing clients across the spectrum using us now. And I think that reinforces that these same core principles and products are perfect for every scale. So we've got first-time investors starting out with a few dollars and regularly contributing, right up to actually multi-million-dollar clients. And so I think that's a testament to going, these great core principles to building long-term wealth apply to everybody, and everybody gets the same access, everybody gets the same fee structure. It's all about long-term wealth.
Yeah, being able to do that with the integrity and ethics that you have. And I know that's such a core value of Kernel. So it's really heartening to see, and particularly in this type of industry.
It is. And I think it's an industry that obviously I think a lot of Kiwis don't relate to, obviously. But it's a very important, in this environment, even more so, people are locked out of housing. You have to invest if you're going to secure your own financial future. You can't leave your money in the bank. People that may be unable to buy a house in this current environment, you need to do something. And we are very proud of being able to stand there, and I know hand on heart that everything we've done is aligned to that. And it's very embedded into our team and how we structure everything around how we talk and what we do from an educational point of view, the blogs, the content, the way we structure the platform. Simple things like, when we actually launched, we only allowed people to even trade once a week. And so now it's happening. But again, because this is about long term. We don't want you incentivized to be reacting to the news of the day. It's no good for you. So set it up, forget about it. And from a design perspective, it's a really interesting one, because we are living in this environment where everybody expects real-time, instantaneous, 24/7 access on their mobile, in the pocket. It's very addictive to be looking at things and touching things all the time. And we discussed this ultimate goal, I guess, we have of, which Armin and the design team often talk about, which is designing the world's best one-time experience. Because the best thing for our customers is to open an account, fall absolutely in love with it, set it all up, and then not look at it again. Nothing. Because that's the best thing you can do. And so that's that real tension of being fully digital and accessible, but trying to, again, make sure we're driving the behavior we know is going to get our customers to long-term success.
Yeah, and I think it really links very well into that piece of financial literacy that you're advocating for. And as you say, the market in New Zealand has shifted dramatically in my lifetime. And I've got a 15-year-old son. So just in terms of the opportunities available for him and what he can do with so much knowledge out there, but really what's going to help him long term into his 20s, 30s, 40s. Fantastic.
So we're doing next week, funny enough, is Money Week. So annual Money Week. And it's actually, I guess, from our point of view, a little bit disappointing that there isn't as much happening for Money Week. A number of years ago, it used to be quite a big thing, but the industry kind of has let it slide away, which is unfortunate, when really the role of everybody in this industry, no matter who we are, is to try and promote and advocate for greater financial literacy, promote awareness and education. So we're trying to do our part. We're hitting the road. We're doing the good old traditional, get in a car, going to rural and regional New Zealand and holding a bunch of events, because that's another part of what I really love doing. And that is just being in front of people, like being able to speak to people face to face. We learn a lot from that. Yeah. And it's a great chance just to be out there and talking to Kiwis and understanding what their challenges are and what they're going through in different parts and their own unique goals.
Yeah. Why do you think it has slipped? Because it is something that absolutely could be a key opportunity for so many businesses. But you're right. I've definitely not seen as much advocation around it this time.
I really don't know. And I don't know whether COVID has kind of distracted people. Everybody's a bit tired. Everyone's been very busy. And the year seems to be flying by these days. So all of a sudden this pops back up on the radar. And it's like, damn, that's here again. And so I'm not sure, but I think we want to try, and we'll probably on the back of this now, I think even us got caught a bit by surprise by how quick it was coming up. And I think we now need to be a bit more proactive ourselves and trying to rally the rest of the industry to kind of do a bit more next year and make it a bit more prominent. Even the media and things when we speak to really haven't got it on their radar. So let's look out for next year and see if we can make some more noise and get more people engaged.
Yeah. I'm all about that. 2022, let's start planning now.
Yeah, exactly.
What's been the most challenging part of your management or leadership requirements in your career? And what key piece of advice can you give to managers?
I think, I know coming back to, I haven't had many challenges again coming back to the sort of quality of people we've had around us. I think what I've experienced though is previously when in a corporate has been the great managers that we have had that personal, that very genuine desire to see their team grow personally. And I think that has been foundational in terms of setting up my career pathway, getting me onto where we are today with Kernel. So I really encourage anybody that's managing people in that sense to have that and really foster that genuine interest in your staff and what their long-term goals are, and take the view that encouraging their own growth isn't a detriment or a threat to the business. You don't need to think about them as just this labor resource, and really try and, because that will fundamentally change the business that you're operating. It really gets the buy-in and attracts people to stick around and be with you and support the growth.
Yeah. The only thing I'd probably add to that is just ensuring that when you do that, because it's so important, as you say, building this connection, when you understand who those people are, you can let them deliver and be who they are, right, to their best ability.
Yeah. And having that faith and trust in me. And that was something, again, that was quite good that I had with managers as well, was that full trust. You knew, you felt that you had the confidence of your management team to go out there and do your job and come up with ideas and deliver. And you do get that genuine sense of understanding or feel when they have confidence in you and the trust in you. So,
yeah. If you could go back through your career, would you change anything, and why?
No, it's pretty simple.
I love that. I love when it's a no.
Yeah, no, it's been great, and I wouldn't be here where I am today. And I think it's one of those interesting things you look back on. I guess anybody looks back on their life, not just from a career point of view, about all the little things, those little moments and things in time that somehow got you to where you are, not just from a career, but life. If only that little thing, if there wasn't an earthquake, would I have moved to Wellington? Would I have been at NZX if I didn't start in energy? And you can question all those things. And as long as, I think the key for me was I was always happy with the decision I was making at each time. I was feeling like I was making a step forward, even if I wasn't clear of where the end direction was. I felt like I was always moving forward towards something. And so having that belief in yourself as you go through those different stages and make those decisions along the way, I think then you can look back and be pretty happy about wherever you are.
Yeah, that's great. I completely agree. It's a journey, and you wouldn't be able to achieve the things you have now without some of those challenges that felt terrible along the way, but got you here.
Yeah.
You're a self-described mainlander and enjoy regularly exploring New Zealand. So we're going to leverage that, with your partner, visiting friends and family, sampling great eateries. Where's somewhere great you've been recently?
Last weekend had one of the best meals of my life. We went to Queenstown, had to do some work down there, so made it a long weekend, and visited the Milford Sound for the first time. And I've never been there. We took the bus in. I highly encourage taking the bus in. It was just an absolutely astounding trip. It really is as amazing as sort of you kind of envision and hear about, and really blew my mind. And if you haven't been there, now's the time, because we were 12 people on a bus. We were the only bus we saw, a vehicle we saw basically the whole day. You're standing in these amazing valleys with nobody. And pre-COVID, he was saying they would have 120 buses a day, and there would be thousands of tourists on the side of the road in the exact same spot where you're standing with nobody.
Wow.
So in terms of the opportune time now to go and explore that backyard, that was genuinely mind-blowing. You wouldn't have had that same environment for decades. While there, ended up went to Arrowtown for dinner and just stumbled along and went to Aosta. and it is a little Italian place, and was just sort of had a quick look at the menu and did the set menu, and blew my mind. Really amazing. Go there, have the set menu, sit at the bar and enjoy a couple of drinks. It was like $80, $89 or something, and just astounding food. Italian food mixed with great Kiwi twist with pala and venison and crayfish, and I'm going back there. I think we're obviously stopping in Queenstown in a couple of weeks again with the roadshow, and I've already told the team we're going back to Aosta.
This is where we're going, by the way.
This is it. So definitely check that out in terms of if you're down that part. That was, and then in Auckland, if you're in Auckland, one of the other great ones I had recently is Celeste on K Road. Again, been loving the set menus recently. Went there, got the set menu, sat in the window. Again, just enjoy the environment, enjoy the surprise of all the food that comes out. And it's lovely.
I think it's such a great boost, particularly talking about that piece of Milford Sound. We understand that COVID has hit our tourism industry hard, and that people are going to very typical tourist locations, but some of these might not be on the radar. So to know that you can capture that beauty that would have been with thousands of others as little as 3 years ago is an opportunity to be taken up now.
There genuinely probably wouldn't have been a period where it's as quiet as it is in the Milford Sound for half a century. You know, in terms of there's always been tourism in there. This is a unique lifetime opportunity to get into some of these places and do something that, again, in how long? Maybe a couple of years, but at some point won't be that same environment again. It will look different again. So get out there and enjoy it, because it was really amazing.
Yeah, no, we talked about this. I've not been myself, so definitely has to be on the list. Embarrassingly so. What does being whole human, imperfect, and real mean to you, Dean?
Interesting. I think just coming back to that whole thing, right? It's been about embracing things as we go along. There's always challenges. There's always the unknowns. And for me, it's been about, I probably the biggest thing as well I like to talk about is I'm very comfortable sharing where we're at with that. I think that's been quite important. There's the good days and the bad days, and having, again, a team around me and a partner and things like that where you can be vocal about that and kind of release those situations and let it go and carry on is probably the biggest thing. All of us in this team will all have our own personal challenges, and it's hard enough being in a startup environment that's moving quickly and doing a lot, and being able to have a team that we can all share those things along the way is quite important. So, and probably, I guess, we try and foster that a bit as well. So we've got a weekend getaway as a whole team and partners coming along. So we just try and make sure that we are all this family where we'll all get together with not only as a team, but also our team's partners and the role that they play in the lives, because I think that's important around, again, having that confidence and sharing where you're at and understanding what everybody's going through. The other thing is sort of remembering as well that the days where things are frustrating or don't go to plan, particularly in the sort of startup and high growth phases, very quickly out of the blue, you'll have a day that absolutely amazes you and you weren't planning for it. And so it's always remembering that this is just another day, and these ebbs and flows of it all come and go pretty quickly, and keeping the mind focused on the bigger picture.
Yeah, it's so true. When you have that supportive team as well, it's great to know that they've got your back, even if sometimes right in the moment you don't know how to express it, or it is overwhelming. But knowing that they are there and having that team culture allows you to get through so much. So fantastic. Last question. Is there anything else you'd like to share, or last words to leave us with, Dean?
No, it's been a great chat and covered a number of things.
Yes, we have.
I'm now thinking about Aosta and looking forward to 2 weeks. I'm getting hungry, so that's been the main. But it's been great. I think, say the biggest thing for me is just really go out there, chase whatever it is that you're after, and keep stepping forward. And if you're in an organization now and you're looking for a new challenge, raise your voice. Put your hand up for a new opportunity if that's what you're really wanting right now.
Yeah, wise words indeed. That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm going to hit stop on this so that it can